Well, the new season is upon us, and we are finally with you to discuss all things fall. This is your official Fall Aftercast presented to you by the Weather Network 2021. As we focus in on this season, we want to share all the details with you. The highlights, of course, the beautiful change of the fall colors, and maybe the lowlights, like the wind chill returning, and also those big fall storms. You know, on Twitter today, I actually put out the question. I said, I am so excited for fall. I love fall. It is my favorite season. Soups, pies, looking at all of the beautiful fall colors, wearing a sweater. That's my favorite. So I asked you guys on Twitter what you are so excited for when it comes to the fall. And I got a couple responses that said, you're excited for spring. That is not the tone that I'm looking for here. So I want to introduce you to my panel of fall lovers, okay? These are people who enjoy the season. And of course, we are going to take the next 30 minutes to 60 minutes to discuss the fall forecast, reveal precipitation trends, temperature trends, lake effect snow, what December may look like, and when we'll see that jet stream really flip around. So first, let me introduce you to Nathan Coleman. Nathan Coleman is joining us from Halifax today. And Nate, you had sort of a summery start to fall today, didn't you?
Oh, it has been mild and just wonderful here on the East Coast, Rachel. We're loving these temperatures here, still feeling kind of summer-like for fall here in the Maritimes.
Okay, Nate, we're going to get back to you and we're going to talk about hurricane season and especially your experiences with Larry, because I'm sure a lot of people in Atlantic Canada, they're thinking, when is this tropical moisture going to kind of take it easy and we'll get more into that winter pattern, right?
Oh, definitely. We had a great time in Larry over in Newfoundland, and there are still some tropical activity out there. But for the winter lovers, we'll tell you when to expect some snow.
Okay, you got it. Now, speaking of snow, let's transition to Rachel Modestino, our meteorologist who's joining us today. Rachel, you're going to be the one that's going to reveal the big fall forecast for our audience. And I want to remind our audience to let us know your questions, let us know your comments, because we can read them in real time. So that's Rachel's job. She's going to be talking about snow. But Rachel, you were so busy this summer at the Weather Network. Your first season with us at the Weather Network covering active weather. What are some of those big moments, those big summer storms or big summer events that really stood out to you?
Well, like you said, it was my first summer here in covering a wide variety of active weather. It was very busy in Ontario, especially. Most memorable must be the Barrie tornado. I jumped on to camera without any makeup on. My hair wasn't done, but we really tried to get that message out. So that was probably the most memorable experience. And then covering the active tornadoes throughout the summer, it was something that I really looked forward to. But we're going to have to start transitioning into more fall-like systems and maybe some winter systems in our active weather.
You got it. Tornadoes aside, and now we're going to talk about Colorado lows and lake effect snow. Now, Sophia Kambalia also joining us today, our wonderful weekend host and one of the producers of Press Pause, which is one of my favorite segments here at the Weather Network. Now, Saf, you had a great summer. I was following you on social media with all of your swimming and cottages and boating. Are you okay to leave summer behind?
I don't know. I was trying to move in with a positive face forward and look at pumpkin spice lattes and cozy sweater weather. I baked pumpkin scones on the weekend. But then today in Ontario, we have our first really big fall storm, and I am reminded why I am one of those hoping for spring around the corner. But I'm willing to give fall another chance. But man, yes, we soaked up all we could with summer, even through some of the storms, some of the memorable big Ontario storms. That hashtag #OnStorm really, really got its use.
Oh, absolutely. Now, Saf, what was one of your most memorable moments when it comes to this summer?
Okay, so one of the big on-storm moments that really stands out for me was that cloud deck that sort of appeared all over Ontario. Do you remember this? And we have family in Eastern Ontario and in cottage country, and everybody saw this thing coming, including me, from the middle of a soccer pitch, as I really should have known better and should have been out of harm's way a lot sooner. I got to show you this picture, okay? Because boy, these are, my kids and his friends at the soccer field as the coaches are saying, it is time to call the game, folks, because this thing is coming down. And yeah, you know what it was like if you were in Ontario. It rained, it poured, and it was a really active tornado season, as it was in many places across the country. The wildfires out west, the historic heat. So it was a very busy summer for all of us across the board.
Now, Saf, does this happen to you when you're at an event and the weather starts to turn? Everyone just looks at you and says, okay, so what is it? Like, what do I do now? What's going to happen? I'm sure, Rachel, this happens to you too.
Just the messenger. But you know what? I am always the one at the morning school bus stop with my kids who hasn't dressed my kids appropriately for the weather. And then everybody looks at me and goes, shouldn't you have known that it was going to rain today? Yes, totally. I should have.
Totally. And you know, so many people across Southern Ontario, you definitely need the umbrella today. We are into that really, really wet pattern. And you know, today felt like fall for so many Canadians who live within the Golden Horseshoe. So I want to talk about how fall is going to move into our backyard right across Canada, from BC to Newfoundland and right across the north. We are here now to reveal that fall forecast. And I want to remind you, this is interactive, right? We want to hear from you. We want to hear your comments. Let us know where you live, what you want to know when it comes to the forecast. Even if you have questions about Christmas snow, I promise we'll try and answer them for you today. So Rachel, let's jump into this. Where do you want to start first when it comes to this fall forecast?
Well, I think we definitely need to start in the west because of the historic heat that they saw throughout the summer, record-breaking heat. Well, some good news in store for the west is that heat is going to primarily be focused in eastern Canada. So more of a near normal fall, maybe getting into some late fall warming along the southern coast of British Columbia. And in the southern parts of the prairies, that above normal may push up just slightly. BC has a very gradual change when it comes to our fall temperatures plummeting, but in the prairies, expect some volatile ups and downs. We'll see some highs, we'll see some lows, but overall looking like it's going to average out to near normal across the west.
That's interesting. And you know, a lot of people on our Facebook feed, I'm just reading the chat right now, guys, they are just dreading the cold. So Rachel, when we see this on the map, it says above normal. I think we need to remind people what normal is, right? Because Nate, you know, when we see above normal, it doesn't mean we're gonna get 20 degrees in December, right? Nate, I guess try and help us sort of understand what above normal may look like in Halifax close to Christmas.
Close to Christmas, like the past few Christmases, we have had green Christmases, so it's been fairly mild. But for now, I mean, we're looking at an above normal fall right now. It's 20 degrees and above normal temperatures throughout the fall, September and October. You can still be out in t-shirts. You can still be out in shorts in Halifax. So it is quite lovely out here. It's like our summer keeps getting extended a month further. So you can still expect to get out, enjoy it. But you know, by November or so, you're going to be wanting those sweaters, and you'll need to put the boots on because there is the chance that you know, we're going to freeze over and we'll have some ice to deal with.
You got it, Nate. And you know, there's so many Christmases that I think about, or so many Decembers that I think about, that so many Canadians in Eastern Canada kind of had a bit of a treat, right? Where we saw those above seasonal conditions. We almost didn't even need a jacket. But Rachel, that's not really what the case is going to be this year, right? That was a big highlight for me when I was reading over this fall forecast.
Yeah, you got that right. We are expecting a late pattern change. So sometime in November, these above normal temperatures, well, don't expect them to last, especially in Ontario, because we will be watching our jet stream possibly plummeting some Arctic air late fall. So expect possibility to see an early start to winter, especially if you are in Ontario and Quebec. That might hold off for those in Atlantic Canada. You may be still in that warm zone. But if you are in Ontario and Quebec, early start to winter, that is what the forecast has in store.
Yikes. Now that's really interesting. And Joanna Curtis, she actually just sent us a comment on Facebook. And Rachel, she's asking, are we likely to see more ice storms in Ontario this year? And you know, we think about some of these ice storms, especially the one that happened in 2013. It paralyzed traffic throughout December. They can be really dangerous. So as this cold air rushes in, do you think that has any increased potential for ice storms?
It might. It may be hard to say at this time because that works on a smaller scale. We'll have to check back days before it actually occurs. But with this colder air and when we have the warmer Great Lakes, we can definitely see an increase of lake effect snow. If that turns into ice, that will be very situational on the day.
Absolutely. Now, Saf, living in southern Ontario and being part of the lake effect snow and some of these ice storms, what do you think is more challenging to deal with? Is it the ice that comes in, or is it those bands of lake effect snow?
Oh, I don't know. That lake effect snow is so unpredictable and it can come in so quickly. And as you know, anybody that drives in the highly populated GTA 401 corridor has often come across lake effect snow at the change of a hat, right? But the ice storms are particularly potent here as well. I think so many are just really, really hoping that winter isn't just lurking around the corner as we're talking about all these things. But it is important for all of you out there to know, to have that safety message. You know, it's time to start thinking about changing those tires and winter driving safety and heeding some of those warnings. So many of us are looking forward to what we're saying will hopefully be an above normal when it comes to heat and fair conditions for September and October, but we'll be lulled maybe by that traditional fall and the nice fall colors. But it's important what Rachel's saying, that maybe that early winter could be right around the corner, lurking.
Yeah, totally. And Rachel, next question is, will it be warmer on the prairies this fall season? Now, what are some of the highlights that we can give to people in the prairies when it comes to this transitional time of year?
Well, we are expecting, and we've already seen in September, these very quick changes in terms of temperatures in the prairies. You'll get periods below seasonal, you'll get periods above seasonal, and that transition will almost give you a whiplash as you get into the fall months. Now, do expect around the south ticking up a little bit more above normal as we get into our fall season. But it will be quite volatile swing. We are expecting an early frost, which is actually what we saw around Calgary. They already have had frost warnings in early September, and possibility to see an early end to growing season across the prairies as well.
Okay, Nate, we've got a comment from Colin Lane. He says, normal is Long Johns in St. John's. So in Atlantic Canada, when do you bring out your Long Johns? What month?
Well, that depends what province you're in. I mean, talking Halifax, we've got it pretty easy. If you're in St. John's, Newfoundland, you know, you could be bringing them out in October. So there you go. There's a wide array of temperatures between Newfoundland and Nova Scotia, that's for sure.
You got it. Okay, Rachel, let's jump into some precipitation now, because that is really, you know, I think a lot of people, they focus a lot on temperatures in the fall because we see such a dramatic change and such a dramatic switch, but it can be the same with precipitation. And all of a sudden you don't have the winter tires on and you're skidding around on ice or snow, and all of a sudden we are into winter. So when it comes to precipitation, what are we expecting?
Well, like you said, it's going to be quite a shift, especially when you think about British Columbia, how dry their season was this summer. Well, expect anything but that, especially off the west coast. We're expecting above normal precipitation for almost all of British Columbia with some atmospheric rivers at play. The Pacific Ocean is very warm in that region, so systems coming onto shore are packing more moisture than previously anticipated. And then we have that swath around Hudson Bay, that open water with the cooler air is going to drive some convection in that area. And then over out east, above normal precipitation, that is all due to, you guessed it, tropical moisture. We could be seeing that push into southern Ontario and Quebec, but it will be very situational where those tracks line up at the time.
You know, what stands out for you? You were covering active weather all summer long, right across the country. You know, you saw so much intensity and drought when it came to the wildfires and the lack of rain across the prairies. So when you're looking at this, what's standing out for you?
Yeah, it was a devastating season when it came to the wildfires, the historic heat, the severe drought. And then when you see above normal precipitation, it's reassuring to so many Westerners, right, who are already seeing typical fall-like weather patterns come out. regaining some of that groundwater supply after a really, really intense summer is so important. And then to hear Rachel say that maybe an early frost will kind of shut down potentially what was already a really shortened growing season for many in the prairies. It's been one to watch for the farmers, is any of the prairie provinces and in Western Canada as well. So that really stood out for me. And then also when we're talking about precipitation in the east, it has already been a barrage of tropical moisture, Nate, as you know, in parts of Atlantic Canada. And to hear that there will be above normal precipitation when it comes to the amount of tropical and hurricane activity that could still come in this season really stood out for me there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, Nate, would you want to speak about that? You know, you just dealt with Larry. You were on active weather coverage. You were flown out to Newfoundland to track that storm. Talk a little bit about Larry, what you guys saw, and then if there are some nerves with this above normal forecast for precipitation in the east.
Well, yes, for Larry, precipitation wasn't as big of an issue as the wind was because it was such a fast mover. It didn't really have enough time to dump enough rain on it. So, you know, I flew in with Dave Hodge, our camera operator, and we were there Friday overnight. It was an overnight storm, and the winds were just extreme, you know, and it made landfall. They're sustained at 130 kilometers per hour. And we had a gust of 145 right in the city in St. John's. So it did take a lot of branches down. We had a roof membrane come off a school there. So there were some damages, power outages. So that was an issue with the wind. But there wasn't so much as much flooding. But the following weekend, there was more moisture coming along thanks to Odette, which wasn't as direct of a hit, but it brought in that tropical moisture. So, you know, it's been a steady stream there, and looking ahead to the next couple months, we're going to hit those totals, I'd say, above average for sure as we continue to track more tropical moisture. But they're no strangers to dealing with the rain in Newfoundland, so I'm sure they'll be prepared for it. The question will be, you know, how cold it gets, because that's when you start getting into the snow.
I gotta say, we are hardy folk, Canadians. Sorry to cut you off there, Rachel, but my goodness, when you think about how quick things flip, especially in this transitional season, we are a hardy, strong folk.
Totally. And I was going to say too, you know, this time of year can bring on such intense windstorms, and wind can be one of the hardest elements really to deal with when it comes to such intense and dangerous weather. And I just want to remind everybody, if you're just joining us right now, this is the Fall Aftercast. We are talking about the Weather Network's fall forecast, releasing some of those temperature and precipitation trends, and we love it when you join in on the conversation. So ask us your questions on Facebook and Twitter. We're also streaming live on YouTube as well. So anything that you want to know about the upcoming season, we are reading that stream live. And Rachel, I want to talk a little bit about ski season now, because ski season could be a slow start in some areas, but it could boom in others. So let's talk about sort of the pros and cons and what we're thinking about. You know, I am 8 months pregnant right now, so I'm not going to be skiing this season, but if I wasn't, I would definitely be tracking this forecast.
Yeah, it'll definitely be a very good ski season if we find ourselves in eastern Canada with the early onset of winter, bringing in some of these big snowy systems like the Colorado lows or lake effect snow. So that will really help enhance eastern skiers. But when we go over into BC, we could be seeing some late fall warmth, and that won't be as ideal, especially for the skiers out west around on the Rockies.
Okay, that's interesting. Now, our next question comes to us from Joanne Thomas, and she says, do I need to wear SPF in the fall? And, you know, as our health and weather host, I'm going to say, yeah, you absolutely do. And that does make me think of skiing. You know, you've been out on a ski hill for the day. You don't have any sun protection factor on. Your skin is burnt, or maybe you have that wind burn. It's really uncomfortable. So, Sophia, what's your take on SPF in the fall? Do you just put it away once the summer is over?
I think we all mean well, and the important safety messages should always be there. Yeah, I think we don't realize that transitional seasons usually have a lot of UV rays coming down as well. It's that really early spring that you find everybody burns the first couple times they've been out in the sun, and it's because of that close proximity to the sun and with our Earth's axis. And we don't think about the shoulder seasons as having that real necessary there. So yeah, definitely, guys, you've heard it here now. We've talked about the frost, we've talked about the slippery roads, and we're talking about the SPF, all these new safety things to keep in mind.
That is just totally summing up life in Canada, right?
We go right from life jackets and pools and boats to talking about the wind chill and the ice storms and in about a day, right?
You
Spring
got
and
it.
fall, about a week. We get about a week.
You got it. Actually, yeah, have you guys experienced a day yet where you wore gloves in the morning and then in the afternoon you basically could have worn flip-flops? Nate, have you had any of those days yet?
Not yet, not yet. We've had it good. So, you know, I still haven't changed over from the Birkenstocks. I refuse to put on shoes until I absolutely have to.
Those days are so hard to dress for, I find, because you do not know what to wear. Rachel, do you have any hacks when it comes to figuring out the wardrobe in the fall? Because it can get uncomfortable.
It's just layers, layers, and more layers. You're going to pack them on in the morning and shed them as you get into the evening. That is what I stand by. And when it comes to shoes, it's going to be multiple shoes in my car because one day it's going to be fine in heels, but then the next hour it'll be raining. So having a lot of choices, that is going to be what gets me through this fall season.
All seasons in one day, right? That's what we say. We say we go through 4 seasons in about a 12-hour period. I dress my kids for winter when they leave for school in the morning, and they come back, you know, with shorts and t-shirts a couple hours later. It's unbelievable.
We've got another question now. This one comes from Blaine Jones. When will southwestern Ontario see the first frost? So, Rachel, I know you have some dates and some, you know, average potentials of that first frost. You want to bring that up for us, and then we can kind of go over that right now?
Yeah, these are the average dates for the frost in the east. So it's looking like around the city of Toronto, anywhere from October 16th. But that is going to be a very big question mark at this time. When that flip occurs, sometime in October or maybe even into November. But that is an average date. So you can expect some frost maybe a little bit before, maybe a little bit after.
Okay. Now, I want to move into some of the awesome things that we do in the fall. Of course, when the frost hits, that's when you really know the wardrobe has to change, sweater weather is here. But, you know, back to school is such a huge part of the fall. Sometimes, I don't know how you guys feel, but sometimes I feel like September is almost more of a new year, a new start than January. Sophia, do you feel like that sometimes, especially with 3 kids going back to school?
Yeah, 100%. September is always a true transitional period, not just in the weather, but emotionally as well. You think about the years past and all the milestones and where were we last year and all the things that have changed. Definitely has that new year vibe. And then, you know, you go in with these rosy feelings and bright-eyed rainbows, and then you remember what the fall storm is like as you sat out there for drop-off and pick-up and kind of remember what fall is truly. But no, it really is that new year vibe, and the milestones are there, and there's a lot of fun, family fun that fall has to offer as well, right? The wagon rides, the haystacks, the corn mazes. Sunflower season just kind of passed, but there's apple picking, and of course, Halloween, which we look forward to as well. We have a little treat for all of you. Rachel, what do you think right now? Talk a little Halloween?
Yeah, let's talk a little Halloween, and I want to remind everybody too, when you're having all of that fun and doing all those hay rides and you're interacting with the animals, Sophia wants to see it because her segment Press Pause was literally made for this, right?
Yes, yes. While you are out interacting with your dogs, your cats, or seeing the animals at the petting zoo, we want your pictures and your videos here at the Weather Network. Every Sunday evening, as Rachel mentioned, Press Pause airs after 8 p.m. at the 23 and 53, past every hour. And we have so much fun showcasing your animal videos right across the country. And that's because we're really proud of animals here at the Weather Network. We all have our own. And as we talk about Halloween and the fun things to look forward to when it comes to the month of October and into November, we thought we'd give you a little treat of how into Halloween not only we are, but our 4-legged friends. Are you ready for this? Are you sitting down for the cuteness that is about to be in store? Do you know who this is? Rachel, yeah, you know who this is, Rachel? This is Sunny, Sunny the poodle. Yeah, that's your Sunny. Kate, can you talk about this costume? Because this seems like a very frugal and effective costume.
Okay, guys, so here's my confession. I do not like Halloween. If we could skip Halloween, I would be totally fine with it. But I thought, man, Sunny is such an awesome dog. I need to get her somewhat of a costume. So I literally just took an old towel, I cut 3 holes into it, and boom, Sunny is a ghost.
Okay, so this is our call out, everybody. We want to see your dog and cat and kid Halloween costumes as well. Sunny looks absolutely thrilled to be a ghost. And you know who else looks thrilled to be partaking in Halloween? Well, it's this Beanie Baby, Zara. Rachel, this is Rachel Modestino's dog, but you got to explain this because it's a Beanie Baby gone wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, we were going for a Beanie Baby sweet vibe, but once I put that stuffed animal in front of her, it was more of a Beanie Baby attack dog that her costume turned into.
Okay, one more. There's the other angle, the blood splatter scene. And this is Super Odie. This is Nate Coleman's dog. And Nate's so great,
yeah,
guys.
Super Odie.
Guys, we have so much fun with your animals, and I gotta say, my dog didn't make the cut. I didn't bring his picture in, but he was an elf last Halloween, which then I thought reminded me more of Christmas. And then, well, that was just jumping too far ahead, Rachel, wasn't it?
Okay, Saf, you gotta tweet that out, okay? I wanna see that picture.
All right, I will.
Tweet that out afterwards. I love it. Okay, Saf, so how can people get in contact with you if they want to be featured in Press Pause or if they want to be part of your Halloween episode? Because I'm sure there's a Halloween episode brewing,
Oh,
right?
it is in the works. We still need more videos and pictures as you get your dogs to try on their Halloween costumes, or your cats, or your gerbils, or parakeets, or whatever. We want to see it. You can upload at theweathernetwork.com. You can tweet us. You can use the hashtag PressPause, and you can send us messages as well directly. My handle at SophiaTWN, and Press Pause would love to show your animal videos across the country. But why not? They enjoy fall too.
PAWS, right?
Press Pause. You got it. PAWS.
Awesome. Okay, guys, while we're on the topic of Halloween, I want to talk about pumpkins. Has anyone got their pumpkin yet? Nate, have you got yours yet?
I haven't yet. Too early yet.
What about you, Rachel?
Mine is currently growing.
Oh,
yes.
You're growing it?
Yes, we had success on a couple pumpkins
Wow.
this year. So, yeah, the one that I dibbed for myself is still in the process.
That's cool. Okay, I need to see some pictures of that too. What about you, Saf? Did you buy your pumpkin yet?
We haven't. I have promised the kids that we are going out for a big, glorious pumpkin patch, wagon ride, as I all mentioned,
nice.
day. So that still has to come. But then,
You're gonna get one of those like really sticky candy apples, right?
Oh yeah, maybe a couple, maybe a couple. And then we're gonna roll up the sleeves and get all the gunky stuff out and.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, Nate, you are our king of hacks when it comes to, pretty much anything in your household. So when it comes to pumpkins, one of the issues that I have with pumpkins is how much waste it is. I've seen so many studies about trillions of pumpkins around the world just being placed on our patios and then directly thrown into the garbage. So, Nate, if you had to give me a hack for not wasting my pumpkin, lay it on us.
Well, Rachel, here in Nova Scotia, there is a place you can bring it and feed it to the pigs. There's a pig farm on Nutby Mountain, so that's an option. But if you want to get a little more creative, you could turn it into a bird feeder. If you just, get your tools out and set it out there. You can hang it up nicely in a tree and feed the birds with your excess pumpkin. They'll have a feast of it. So that's something we featured before on the Weather Network, and it's a great plan. If you need somewhere to put your pumpkin, it will compost, but the birds will love it too.
Oh, that's awesome. And we're just looking at a blue jay here feeding out of a pumpkin bird feeder. That looks great. Now, guys, before we move on, actually, Paul Campbell, he's joining in on the Halloween dog conversation, okay? So, Sophia, this question is for you. What should my golden retriever dress up as for Halloween?
Oh, this is a good one. Well, wasn't there the big Air Bud movie? You got to get some basketball shoes on. I don't know.
Cute.
Get creative with your photos in your videos. We love it. We love it.
Rachel, do you have any
Horizontal, folks.
ideas for a golden retriever?
Oh, that is a good one. I try to go with something that's easy that they probably won't try to pull off of them. That's why the Beanie Baby tag was off to the side, because she kept biting it. But I've seen some really cute angel dogs.
Oh, that's
or
a good
devil
idea.
if they're cheeky.
That's a good idea. For anyone who has a small dog, I would love to see the lobster in the pot, where you can dress the dog up as a lobster and then you put them in a pot. It's just the cutest picture ever. So if anyone has a tiny dog that could fit into a pot, I'm gonna say go for that one. Would you try that one, Saf?
I think that would be like the first video featured on Press Pause. That one right there would be the episode. And Rachel, weren't you saying that Sunny, who we all know here at the Weather Network, probably the most famous Weather Network dog, has a food type costume coming up in store for her?
Yeah, she's gonna be a hot dog again for round 2 this year.
If the wheel ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah. You got it. We got a question from Ronnie Chambers, and I'm actually interested to see what you guys think about this one. What is the best place to see the fall colors in Ontario? Rachel, what do you think?
Well, I like to go to Milton, specifically Rattlesnake Park. That's where I do some rock climbing as we even head into fall. It's really good weather for it. It's not too hot, your hands aren't getting sweaty. So I do rock climb around Rattlesnake, and then there's a huge hiking around the Niagara Escarpment. You can really get a good view, overhead view of the fall leaves.
Oh, that would be nice. Sophia, what do you think in Ontario?
We're so lucky to have the Bruce Trail, Mount Nemo, all this great topography where you can get up high and see a bird's eye view of just this glorious paintbrush that Mother Nature has. So anywhere along the Bruce Trail and cottage country. To be up in cottage country in fall is one of my favorite times of year. Yeah, you're not jumping in the lake. It's not as warm anymore. But my goodness, the fall hikes and the walks and the leaves and the colors. And it's always earlier in cottage country, right? So you can, have a good couple weeks there and then be down south and, as Rachel mentioned, to Niagara area and really soak it in for a long extended season. I'm looking forward to it, especially a lot of parents like myself who are trying to make the most of outdoor kids activities now that things are sort of opening back up in Ontario. To have a nice extended period of warmth to enjoy the colors and to be outside maybe without galosh shoes and a parka would be nice.
Yeah, you got it. And with our fall forecast, we are expecting to see some really comfortable conditions through October to enjoy those fall colors. Now, if I had to put my vote in for Ontario, I'm going to go more eastern Ontario, closer to Quebec. I've actually done that drive before through the fall, and it is such a brilliant experience. The fall colors are so beautiful. And Nate, I actually took the north side of the St. Lawrence all the way through Quebec. I crossed over down into New Brunswick. I did the whole drive through New Brunswick. That was also stunning. Charlottetown was so beautiful. The only province I didn't get to, well, I didn't get to Newfoundland, but I didn't get to Nova Scotia to see the fall colors. So you got to fill us in on that. What's some of the best places in Nova Scotia to view them?
Well, yeah, a great spot in Nova Scotia would be the Cape Breton Highlands. It's just an incredible drive around the Cabot Trail. It's incredible to see the mountains and the mix of the fall colors, but it is, it's a bit of a rivalry. Should you see them here in Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, southern New Brunswick especially, you go to Moncton or the Kingston Peninsula, spectacular fall colors. We always get good drone footage and viewer video of these fall colors in New Brunswick, so that's awesome to see. But PEI too, all over the Maritimes. And when you've got these mild temperatures, no better time to get out and enjoy nature. But yeah, I'd say the Cape Breton Highlands really takes the cake.
You got it. And it's sad because we could have such a perfect fall color season, but all you need is one day where we have an incredible storm that comes through, a windstorm, a rainstorm, and then all of those leaves kind of end up on the ground. So that's why we got to make sure our fall maintenance is in check too, cleaning those storm drains, making sure the lawn and garden is looking okay. Rachel, you got any advice for us when it comes to the maintenance around the house?
Yeah, so that's actually one of the biggest things with fall is the garden maintenance. Getting rid of all of your summer plants and fallen leaves is very key. Getting the last minute weeds out of the gravel in the lawn so that they don't pollinate as you get into the spring. But you can also plant some fall vegetables. I do enjoy some green onions, collard greens as well. They do really well in frost. They actually turn out a little bit sweeter. And anything that goes deep in the ground, garlic, beets, even some bulbs, it's a perfect time to plant those, your spring tulips, or if you have deer in your backyard, maybe go with some daffodils because they don't actually eat those bulbs. Interesting. And then it's the process of drying your herbs and getting your seeds ready for the spring as well. So moving all of the outside plants in and doing some inside gardening is what I like to do as we head into our fall summer.
And Sophia, what about you? Because I know you did a lot of experimental gardening this summer. So are you kind of taking that trend into the fall too?
I don't know, I went really, really hard in the spring and the summer and then lost a lot of steam as we, enjoyed summer and kind of let the weeds take over. We lost the battle to the weeds this year, but that's actually a really good point, Rachel. I got to get rid of them now so that next year I can get ahead of the game. But no, I went hard last year. I got bulbs in the ground. My first time fall planting was last year. And it turned out pretty good in this spring, so I think maybe I'll dabble a little bit more this year. But I went very overprotective. I had squirrel netting, and I had bricks, and I had stinky fertilizer around, and it worked okay. My tulips came out, and I did plant some daffodils too, Rachel. So we'll see. I'm a first foray in gardening, and it's taking over a little bit.
That's awesome. And I think one of my biggest fall tips is really to just monitor your trees, monitor the limbs. Those windstorms can get intense. Fall foliage is going to weigh a lot too when we get those heavy winds, when we get that heavy rain, and really clear your storm drain. Nate, I know you've covered flooding a lot. Cleaning a storm drain on the street that's covered in maybe garbage or leaves, it can make such a massive difference to a neighborhood, can't it?
Oh, totally. It makes a huge difference. Even, the city staff here in Halifax say if you have one, the end of your driveway or your street, when a storm's coming, come get it, because there's lots of trees around the city here in Halifax. So it's always a good idea. And another thing you can do, I recently interviewed a lawn expert who said, you can, for your last mow, you're not supposed to mow after it gets about below 10 degrees. But if you mulch some of those leaves into your lawn and you do it evenly, it can be good for your lawn come springtime. So that's one way to get rid of those leaves. Just mulch them right into the lawn.
We did it last year, actually. It worked out great.
It did.
Can I say something? Look at how dark it is behind Nate right now. Like, it has turned from, a beautiful dusk-like scene and almost bright daylight to pitch dark. What a warning that the days are getting shorter.
I know, and you know what, Saf, that actually segues perfectly right into our next topic, because I do want to talk about seasonal affective disorder and, the daylight just growing so much shorter. And so many Canadians deal with this type of depression. Seasonal affective disorder is not just the winter blues. About 15% of Canadians deal with winter blues, and that's something that you can sort of easily get over. You feel a little down, but you have some pick-me-ups along the way. When we talk about seasonal affective disorder, I actually had a great interview with the Canadian Mental Health Association to talk about this long-term depression. People are actually diagnosed with this, and living in Canada, it does put you at a higher risk of dealing with this depression because we go from such a dramatic drop when it comes to this beautiful daylight in the summer, and then November hits and we really see that drop. So Rachel Modestino, I know you want to chat a little bit about the time change, because that is coming up on November the 7th.
Yep, Nathan is doing a great example of showing us that our days are getting shorter and our nights are getting longer. So coming up on November 7th, that will be the end of daylight savings time. So we fall back an hour, which I'm not sure if the panel is looking forward to falling back and losing an hour. What do you guys
Definitely
think?
not. Definitely not.
Not me.
Don't give me the bandstand on this one.
I love those summer nights.
I know, me too. It is really hard when we have to give up that daylight. But I have to say, I find it actually harder in the mornings. Like, I'm such a morning person, and I loved when I would walk my dog at 6 o'clock in the morning and I could have that coffee at 6:30. Now it's not getting light until at least 7:15 today because it was so stormy. Rachel, what do you think? Do you find it harder for the mornings or the evenings?
Well, I think that it's actually easier for the evenings. I work evening shifts, so I'm here until midnight and my sleep schedule's all over the place. I'm not one to wake up at 7 in the morning like you. So it's actually a little nice to lose an hour because that just means I get to sleep an hour earlier. So the evenings I think are a little bit easier, but that transition to the morning would be hard. Instead of waking up at 6 a.m., it's going to feel like 5. And I feel like a lot of bodies will be a little hurt by that.
A lot
Absolutely.
of little bodies. Yeah.
Yeah, Saf, I was actually going to ask you about that. How do you deal with that with kids? Because I'm sure that's tough.
You will experience it soon with your fall baby. And Nate, I know you know it. You've got little ones as well, but they are on their own clock. There is no time change that they follow, right? So they will still wake up at the time they want to wake up, whether or not we've fallen back. And yeah, they I feel like even a half an hour of lost sleep for kids makes a huge world of a difference. Nate, if bedtime is a little bit off, the whole next day is kind of thrown off. Well, this is that on a grander scale. I find personally and anecdotally, it takes us in our household about a 2-week window to kind of get acclimatized and accustomed in our house to feeling regular with the times again. When we've fallen back especially.
I agree. And, a lot of the experts that I've talked to in health and weather, they say that you sort of need to lead up to it a week in advance, adjusting that time change and feeling a little bit more comfortable. But Nate, now that it is so dark behind you, do you sort of feel that change of season a little bit quicker? Because I find as soon as I'm seeing that darkness, I just mentally know fall is on the way. It's like it's programmed into us, right?
Oh, totally. This is when it really hits you. It gets a little cooler, but when it starts getting dark earlier, that's when where the winter is truly coming. We've not right away, but we still have the fall season ahead of us. But another point to make too is, you got to watch out. The kids going to school so early, coming home. If it's getting darker, make sure you turn your lights on bright and early and be on the lookout, because they're off to school. I know my daughter just started taking the school bus this year, so that's a big one, waiting for her at the bus stop. And so be very cautious around crosswalks and take it extra slow during the time change.
You got it. All right, guys. Well, this has been the Fall Aftercast. We have jumped into all of the details when it comes to the wagon rides, the dog Halloween costumes, the time change, and of course, those precipitation trends and those temperature trends. Now, the conversation doesn't stop here, because we have a full page online at theweathernetwork.com/fall where you can review the fall cast at any time that you want. Read that fall forecast. Of course, Dr. Doug Gillum puts so much effort into perfectly curating the message so Canadians can be prepared. Fall is a transitional season, and we all know what's on the other side of it. Of course, winter. And we'll be here with you to discuss that forecast as well. Remember, the Weather Network, we've got your back when it comes to any season. So thank you so much for joining us. And please visit theweathernetwork.com/fall for the full fall forecast.